goal isn't to live forever. The goal is to create something that will.
Welcome to Perspective, a podcast for wedding creatives, where we sit down with special guests and talk about our many years of experience in the wedding industry so you can learn from us and grow your wedding business. And who are we? Well, I'm Simon, and this is Greg Poole. Together, we are Cinemate Films, two Scottish-based wedding filmmakers who love nothing more than drinking coffee and talking shop with others in the wedding industry. And we've teamed up with Photography Farm to bring you 6 special episodes of this podcast in anticipation of London Thrive, the all-star wedding photography workshop taught by 6 phenomenal mentors. Greg, who are we talking to today?
We are talking to the queen of the farm, Lisa Devlin. Hello again.
Oh, it's me again.
Oh my God. Why are you back? Why are you back here, Lisa?
I know. Well, you realise now we're doing these every 6 months that you guys and me are going to hang out more often.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We're going to be besties by the end of it all.
We're already besties. What are you talking about?
That's true. That's
so
true.
What have you got to drink there? What's that you're sipping on?
It is obviously a Christmas mug.
Oh yes, that's not themed well.
Yeah, for the weather. It's tropical here today, so yeah, I'm trying to think nice cold thoughts. I'm just drinking an Earl Grey tea. Sorry guys, it's not that exciting, but I don't drink coffee.
We don't
ever.
judge. It's fine.
And it's decaf.
Okay, now we've got issues. No, I'm just kidding. Yes,
Okay.
so how you been? How you been, Lisa? When was the last time we saw you?
So last time I saw you was in Dunglass in
Dunglass,
March
yeah.
when we were hanging out for our Scottish part of Thrive this year.
God, that was good times.
So we had a great time. Last time I saw you, I think you were just heading off into the distance, not taking with you the crate of beer that I'd bought for you as a gift.
What? This is the first time hearing that there was a crate of beer. What?
Yeah, I said to you, oh, there's a crate of beer in the courtyard that I got for you. And then the next day when we went to leave for the airport, the crate of beer was still there.
Oh, Simon.
Well, look, I didn't know this. Greg had left early,
I left
by the
early,
way.
yeah.
Greg
You
had
did.
left early, and it was just me and Joe Elvis walking into the darkness to find our accommodation, which was, a good 15 minutes walk. In complete darkness, by the way. Countryside, complete darkness. We had our iPhones out. It's hilarious getting back. It's great.
It's good fun.
Yeah. By the way, those games that we were playing, was it the last night or with all the speakers? Do you remember playing?
Yeah, that was the first night. Yeah.
That's right. Yes. I realized at that point just how old I am because I pulled my groin.
Oh,
So that was, yeah.
that was a cornflake box game.
Yes, it was amazing. I was like, oh man, Joy is really good at this game. He was boasting how good he was, and he was very, very flexible, that man. But my drunken pride. John Dolan was behind me, so I was like, I've got to be good here for John. Anyway, fun times.
Before we get into all the new farm stuff, we're going to do... So we scheduled this call last night at 8 p.m.
On my birthday.
on your birthday. So
Oh,
we've
happy
not had time
birthday.
to prep.
Oh, thank you. I'm now 38. Would you believe it?
So fresh-faced.
I know.
But we've not had time to prep. So just before we come on the call, I went to ChatGPT and said, you're talking to Lisa Devlin, wedding photographer. Give me some quick fire questions to get to know her. So we obviously have 2 or 3 episodes previously to properly get to know you. But let's see what GPT came up with for
My
quick
friend
fire
Dave.
questions.
I call my ChatGPT Dave.
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 Well, you have to personify him if you're using him so much. You can't, I'm like, look, call me Lisa. I'll call you Dave. And is that okay? And he's like, yeah, sure. I love that. Now I'm just like, Dave, good morning. Here's what I need you to do for me today.
Oh, you see, I thought it was going to be Sam, which would make that text that you sent a little bit earlier about you eating a sandwich. And I was thinking, a sandwich. So Dave, very nice.
First question might be quite easy, since we've already talked about it, but as quick as you can, I'm going to rattle through these, okay?
Woofed.
Coffee or tea?
Well, tea, obvs.
Favorite camera lens?
Oh, 50 mil.
Beach wedding or city wedding?
City.
Black and white or colour?
Oh, black and white.
Most challenging wedding location you've shot at?
Oh, that would be the Spinnaker Tower in Portsmouth because I'm terrified of heights and it's very high and it has a glass floor.
Ooh, that's exciting.
It was hideous. Never went in my blog because I never want to return.
First dance or cake cutting?
Oh, cake cutting because it involves cake.
Oh, interesting. I thought it'd be first dance because nobody likes photographing the cake cutting.
Oh, I love that bit. I love it. Like,
Really?
Reinvent the wheel.
What's in your camera bag that might surprise people?
Ooh, that might surprise people. At the minute, absolutely nothing because I'm prepping for a wedding tomorrow. So I've got everything out and given it a little bit of claim. I would say really old confetti because you always find like confetti from last year right at the bottom.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, I should zip our bags up.
Yeah.
Last one. What's the most fun wedding trend you've seen recently?
Well, I think I photographed a wedding last year where they had the one where the couple just stay still on the dance floor and they invite people to come in and join them for a group photo. So it's like rapid fire group photos.
Okay.
And that was super fun because I had a super fun couple. But then at the end, I surprised them and got everybody in about 20 seconds for the most chaotic big group photo, which of course they just love. People slide in, people are jumping in the background, and it just, beats the formal group photo we did earlier in the day.
Nice.
Cool. I've not seen that one.
I have not seen that either. Yeah. Interesting. Could you make it work for video?
Oh, it'd be great on video.
Yeah. All right, cool. Maybe we'll give that a try.
There we go. That's a quick fire GPT round.
Yes.
Well done, Dave.
First time we've done that. It was interesting.
Yes. Actually, you know what? That reminds me about the podcast and our listeners being like, the podcast is going a bit downhill. GPT questions. Woofed. Unsubscribe.
Ooh,
anyway,
is that being said?
It was me thinking about COVID times, and you'll be glad to know, Lisa, that I'm back to being the utterly most basic bitch I can ever be. My hot tub is back out. So I was just thinking, our listeners are probably glad that it's just going to stop at ChatGPT. That's the worst it can go, because the next level is podcasting from the hot tub, and that is not something anyone wants to see. You've seen it once before.
I would tune in.
God.
If you're lucky enough, you might get a Instagram video DM from the hot tub. You're prone to that.
Yeah, I've had those. But also I remember because in lockdown we had a pub, didn't we? We had a virtual pub on a Friday night for Farm. It was called The Plough. And we used to start off with people being like, made an effort, put a bit of makeup on, fully dressed. And then towards the end, it was just people turning up in their pajamas, Simon in the hot tub, people in the bath, like nobody cared. It was a very intimate pub.
It was great. Those were the high times of COVID. There weren't that many, but those are high times.
Yeah. Let's go on to Thrive then. So, elephant in the room, there's a big change happened. Mm-hmm. Now, splitting the locations, splitting the dates. Tell us all about those changes. What's happening with this new setup?
Well, I mean, much as I'm saying it's because I get to see you guys twice a year, there was very super practical reasons. It was very difficult to fit what is a 5-day event. Really, it takes up a whole week in March because there are so many other photography conferences. So in the UK, you have the photography show, and that had moved to September in COVID times, but it was back to March last year. And there's BODF that happens in Spain, WPPI that happens in the States. And it's just like really difficult to find a good clear block of days to do the back-to-back event. Mm-hmm. And not so much that we overlap in terms of audience, like someone's not trying to decide between coming to Thrive or going to the NEC for the photography show, but maybe its sponsors and potential speakers get caught up in all of those other events as well. So it was creating a pain point. And I loved a lot about the experience of doing them back to back because it felt like a sort of mini tour. Yeah. And we really formed a bond over the week in terms of speakers. Like, for instance, March, all those speakers still have a group chat going. Still people pop up in it every day. We're meeting up again to go to another conference just for an excuse to meet up. So that kind of camaraderie happened because we did the back-to-back events and traveled and stayed and everything like that. But I will miss that part of it, but it's just purely practical reasons. It's very difficult, but fitting in a 2-day event in March makes it much easier for us. And then it opened up the opportunity to do an autumn conference. Because pre-COVID, I did a couple of trade shows in this slot. I called them Farm Shop. It's always something to do with farms.
Yeah.
And they went well and we really enjoyed them. But I feel what you're tapping into in September, October time is a very different mindset than you get in the spring.
Yeah. Does the extra space and lack of, I mean, there's obviously your list of things to plan will be smaller by at least half.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any things that you can then focus more on your end of things, or is it just you're just enjoying the reduced workload?
Well, you know me. It's not like I just chill out, is it? So
No.
what we're going to add in, because we can do a bit more, is we're going to add a week of like online events afterwards.
Cool.
So listening to what attendees tell me what they would like. So they sometimes get a bit sad that they're missing a session on that second day that they'd really like to attend. So on the second day, for anyone who's never been to Thrive, we open it up for small group shoots with all of our speakers. So you get to be able to go out and see how they operate and build, some portfolio pictures as well. And they last for 90 minutes and we do 3 over the day. But if you're in one of those, 2, even 3 of those, maybe you're missing out on what's going back kind of at HQ, what's going on. And that's a mixture of talks that we get put on by our sponsors and by the team at Photography Farm. So we try and make those really valuable for people, and they're more business focused, whereas the day one talks from our speakers are very inspirational, I would say. So this is more practical and business focused. So for instance, this year, Sophie, who does all the social media for Farm, who's brilliant at it, she's going to put on a class about workflow with social media. And I know lots of people want to attend. So we're extending it out, doing sessions. Everyone who does a session on day 2 is going to have the opportunity to repeat it live online like this, on a call online. And also been speaking to attendees, and they say that they would love to see the lead photographers do an edit. So we want to jam pack that 90 minutes with everybody getting as much content as they can and making that really valuable for them on the day.
Yeah.
But it's always super interesting to see their photos afterwards. And I feel that potentially the step that's missing is seeing the person you shot with do a little bit of an edit. So we're hopefully, that's the plan, is to persuade all of our speakers to do a little mini edit that people can watch online as well. So just extend it all out.
Cool.
Are you going to have anything out? I mean, obviously you've got, the sponsors doing talks, pick time, usually do a story time and a talk. Are you going to get any coaching involved this time? I know you got Zoe Alexander doing her coaching.
Yes.
You going to get Zoe back in?
Yeah, so Zoe joined us in Dunglass this year because I've known Zoe from the very first Photography Farm, where she came to our residential 3-day experience. And we've been good friends ever since. I went to Zoe's wedding, we stay in touch. And Zoe's had a bit of a career change in that she's now doing coaching. And I've had a coaching session with Zoe, and it's really interesting work. Great for people in business, great for creatives. You laughing? Did you do a session with her as well?
Yeah.
Were you in the hot tub, Simon?
No, but I did feel like I was in the hot seat when I was getting it done.
Yeah.
I was in a little bit of a smaller group, and then Zoe was like, does anyone fancy it? And I was like, yeah, all right, cool. I'll put my name forth. Everyone was a little bit nervous. So obviously being friends with Zoe, just, okay, I'll go along. Ended up fucking ugly crying in front of this group of people. Clearly I had tapped into some parenthood trauma that was enabling my indecision in business. So it was very, very interesting. Did you have the same experience? Did you ugly cry?
I didn't cry. It takes a lot to make me cry. I didn't cry, but I can't stop thinking about the session. And there was a book that she recommended, and I've just finished reading it. And the book is crazy interesting. And it's to do with what zones you're working in. So she'll talk about like different zones that you can work in. I won't give anything away for anyone who's signing up to her sessions or who comes to Thrive. But I thought before I did my session with Zoe that I was being, I don't know. It's really made me rethink kind of how I approach business. I was thinking that I was being quite brave and bit of a risk taker. I mean, putting on conferences is high risk and it involves a lot of upfront expense. And I know what can happen when you have to cancel because I've been through that.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm a risk taker. And she was like, you're nowhere near as much of a risk taker as you think. You're actually operating in your comfort zone most of the time. And I was annoyed with her.
Fuck you, Zoe.
But she was right. She was so right. And it's just really shaken things up for me. And it's made a change that I wanted to happen. And it's annoying because she's so incredibly right. So Zoe's coming to Thrive. So she came sort of just on a whim really to Dunglass. And I was like, this stuff is gold. It is so great for people because especially with the autumn conference, we want to tap into the sense that this has been a tough year. All right. And maybe every year in self-employment is tough. Maybe every year in weddings is tough. Maybe every year as a creative is tough. But I don't know about you guys. I feel this has been a particularly tough year. And very rarely am I talking to a photographer and they're enthused with how well everything's going. It's usually the opposite right now. And I just feel that there's been kind of these additional things put onto everybody's plate. And so as a conference organizer and, someone like Zoe rightly pointed out, I'm a fixer. I want to fix things for people. And so I'm looking at creating an environment that we can restore people, revive them, like re-inspire them and kind of do a business reset. So when I thought about that, of course, it made absolute sense to get Zoe to come back. I mean, first of all, I just want to hang out with her because she's beautiful.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that I think that this would be really valuable for photographers in the autumn this year. So we're setting up, I'm going to call it like a woo corner.
Cool.
Yep. It sounds about right.
It's a bit woo, you have to tap into it and open yourself up to the process. So those additional benefits are on the second day. And I just think that's so valuable. I want to make sure everyone can access it in some capacity. So I imagine we will do an online session with Zoe as well in that week following Thrive. And of course, I understand people are busy. They can't just spend a week with me as much as I would like them to. So we'll record everything so they have access. So if you come to Thrive, you'll have this access to this additional material.
Wonderful.
Yeah, cool.
A little bit of a behind the scenes thought. Should we get Zoe on the podcast to talk about coaching?
Yeah.
Could be interesting.
She's been on before.
She absolutely has. Yeah. Many moons ago.
Yeah.
She came on and talked about her artful insight in business and
let's talk about the venue in London for a moment. When you're looking for a venue to host a sort of conference, a workshop, what's the key factors are you looking for to make a good location for the hosting of it and attending?
Seats.
Yeah. Seats, yeah. The cushions.
That's a
everyone needs to bring their cushion back from last year. Those cursed cushions. I mean, great question, Greg. There's so many elements. There's so many things that, Thrive is slightly different to like a standard 2-day conference. And we are trying to accommodate a fair amount of stuff. But when I sit down to plan it, I just picture myself going to it on my own and think, what's going to make me sign up? What's going to make me walk in the door, turn up? Because every year I was noticing that we would have a tiny amount of people who just didn't turn up. And I'm absolutely sure it's social anxiety that gets the better of some people.
Yeah.
So I want to get you through the door, and then once you're there, make you feel as comfortable as possible so you can focus on the learning. So in that sense, somewhere that just doesn't feel uncomfortable, doesn't feel stuffy and formal, doesn't feel corporate, feels relaxed. Yes, we need to be able to, I want everyone to be able to see screens. So this one, we're bringing in a screen the same way we did in Dunglass, because Dunglass ticked a lot of the boxes in terms of location. But of course, they had no in-house AV. So we had someone come in and bring it all in and make sure there were screens on the side for anybody who felt they couldn't see the main one.
That's right. Thank you, James Strange. Thank you for that.
Yes. Who's coming down to London to do the same thing. So,
oh, nice.
I know, he's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
And he gets it because James is also in the wedding industry, so he completely understands. So that's really important, that we can make it as comfortable as possible for when people are sitting and listening to talks. And that's why our good friends, if you didn't come to Thrive last year, our good friends Pick Time brought everybody a cushion with Ask Time written on it.
It's great.
Arga's idea to try, I just don't want somebody sitting there going, oh God, this content's really interesting, but my ass is sore from sitting in this chair. So just simple things like that. This particular venue is it's a hotel. It's a really quirky hotel. It's the UK's first art hotel. Okay. So that tells you a lot. You have to have an event that is based around art to be able to use it. The main room where the talks will be is on the top floor, and it's originally an Art Deco building. So it's got big proportions, and then it's got a big glass ceiling with like Art Deco, like decoration in it. So it's gorgeous light, big white empty room. And then we need it to be like sort of comfortable for people to hang out, inspiring to shoot in, so that it's interesting sort of nooks and crannies for people to work in and shoot in, and the stuff around the area outside for them to shoot as well, depending on the photographer and what they want to do. My favorite part of Thrive is this part, seeing what photographers do with the space. Like, Sam Hurd didn't leave the room, didn't leave the conference room. Photojournalist didn't leave the hotel lobby. Like that, the incredible pictures that they created with those restrictions is so fascinating to me. So yeah, I'm looking for someone that's good to shoot in, someone that's cool to hang out, and then food, that's all anybody will talk about. Our food in Dunglass wasn't as great as we were expecting it to be. And so this time I'm like, come on, the food's got to be delivered. So this place has its own Japanese restaurant, and we went there and we tasted the food. A lot of the food. We were like, let's just order like 12 different things. And it was all really yummy. In fact, I'm going back there tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure I will not leave before I have a cocktail and some more of the food.
Absolutely. So yes, cocktail. There is a bar, right? Because in Dunglass there was a bar, but it didn't sell alcohol, did it? Did it? Now I'm having trouble remembering.
Pre-ordered almost.
Yeah, no, it did sell alcohol.
That's
and
right.
we had that pre-order. Yeah.
Yes, you had the tokens. That's right. I remember now.
Yeah.
I remember now.
Yeah, I mean, events are funny because they're a bit like a wedding in that, you do all this planning, and then there's this one chance for something to happen, and it all, and if there's any component which isn't going to work, you don't know until the day.
Yeah.
So I did feel that the caterer in Scotland did let us down. They didn't deliver on a lot of their promises. And it surprised me because they'd been really highly recommended by the venue. So I didn't want to make that mistake again, because I know when you're sitting there all day, you're really looking forward to your food and you want to have a drink at the end of the day, which was another really important element that was fed back to us after Dunglass. I picked Dunglass because I was thinking elopement vibes. It's an estate, but everything in Dunglass is like really compact. But yeah, a little bit of feedback was, come on, we're Scottish. We want to drink at the end of it. We want to get pissed.
that wasn't just the Scottish folks saying that.
That was just you.
That was just me.
You who left your crate of beer in the venue.
If I had known, I would have taken it.
No,
I didn't know.
If I'd known, I'd have been selling them beers. Anyway, so people were like, oh, we have to drive and, la, la, la. So I've mentally noted Scotland for March next year.
Ooh.
I've got you back.
Yes. Well, what I've been wanting to know, and speaking to a few others, they also want to know, will the group of speakers for London be the same as when you come up in March? Will it be the same? No. Okay. So what's your thought? Okay. So what's your thought? Do you have like a set of things that you want each speaker to talk about relative to the time of year? Or is it just who's interesting right now, who could give an interesting perspective at this time, and then it'll be the same whenever you get planning Scotland or whatever?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Like, I have any number of conversations going with potential speakers at any one time, because it's not that simple normally that I just drop, I slide into their DMs and say, hey, I run this thing called Photography Farm that you've never heard of. Will you come and speak at it? There's a certain amount of like chat that has to go on, and then trying everything to align as well. So, it's partly that I've got people on my radar, and I've got people kind of penciled in for Scotland in March, because they weren't able to do London in October. So I was like, well, hey, I've got another one.
Nice. Okay.
Got
cool.
a backup one. So kind of got people lined up. So now I led you in on the exclusive. I have booked the venues. So now I've got that in place and we have dates. I can start to firm people up for Scotland in March, but totally two different takes. Like I said, October is going to be about reset, revive, build you back up. I feel like in March, what we do with our conference is it's about, inspiration for the year ahead. It's like, anything that you can fix in your business. It's about getting more bookings, like buoying you up and firing you up for the year ahead.
Yeah. Awesome. So with that being said, let's talk about the speakers that you have chosen for London Thrive. First of all, I always like to hear the backstory. So go through one by one and tell me how, what was the process in contacting these people? Because as you alluded to, sometimes it's out of the blue and you're just like, you've never heard of this conference, but I want you to speak at it. So
it's usually like that.
It's usually like that. Each one, and then how do you get them to come over?
Well, so I always try and start with, when I get that first kind of big speaker, someone with a big audience or big following, or it can just be someone who's really well known as being great at conferences, something like that. So when I start with that sort of key player, then build the conference out around that. So this year I started with Muse and Mirror, which of course they've been on my radar for a long time, but I knew that they had turned down a lot of other conferences. They run their own experience in a chateau in France, and it's conference feel. It's they do these beautiful high-end shoots, which are very fashion orientated, very fine art, like ethereal. And I've been a long time admirer of their work. And I've thought about going to France and go to the castle. Just not that I want to be a destination wedding photographer, but just because I just think they look so great. Have you seen their shoots?
Yeah.
I have, yes.
Yeah. So there's people I ask every year that I'm fully expecting to say no. They were definitely that. But I think looking back on the whole of Farm, as a lot of people we managed to get there that I thought would say no, like Martin Parr, who we just were like, should we just try and get Martin Parr?
Yeah.
And at first his one-line email back to me was, no way. So I cheekily went back in and went, Martin, there's always a way. Which I think he just thought, oh, okay, this is a bit of me.
Yeah.
And we managed to book Martin. So I kind of think if I can book Martin, I can book anyone. So with Muse and Mirror, it was not an enthusiastic yes to begin with, but I had a tenuous link to them in that Esme Whiteside, who spoke at Thrive in March, had attended their Chateau conference shoot and got on really well with them. And she was like, "Oh, I can do a little intro." So I was like, "Hi, you don't know me, but I know Esme." And Esme raved about how great her experience was at Thrive in March. And I think that's what persuaded them. So that was the starting point. And I was absolutely thrilled to get them and that they would come over from Germany where they're based. And I think it's going to be wildly interesting to see what they do at Thrive.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait. Funnily enough that you said Muse and Mirror have they've been on our list for years on people like the big names of who to reach out for. And it's been one of those ones where I don't have that personal connection yet. I didn't have that Esme Whiteside yet.
Yeah.
And so I was just holding off. And when you said them, I was like, shit, I now have an in to talk to them. So I'm very excited because their work is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you the thing about Muse and Mirror that I think a lot of people don't take on board, and that this is really what Esme said to me that made me think this would be them. They would be so perfect for Thrive. Is they're actually very business orientated. So despite the art and everything else, they're very focused on business, and they've got very different perspectives on how to generate income as a photographer in weddings. And I think that's going to be crazy interesting for people and maybe a little unexpected. So I can't wait for that. So I'm just really excited. And you know what? They're just absolute dolls. Every time I speak to them, they're so lovely. And I felt that with previous speakers. And I was like, I just know we're going to get on. They end every message with the little red wine emoji. So I'm like,
That's it. It's funny that you mentioned that because, and this is kind of a bad assumption because it's normally not the case, but like when you see someone who puts so much effort into their craft, you just assume that they're gonna be really bad at something else, and usually it's the business. You know, it's either you're a creative person terrible at business, or you're a business person not that very good at art, and
you can be both.
And so I'm very excited to talk to them.
I think you can be both, and I think that really the top players in our industry are really good at both.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, John Dolan, like I spoke to him this week. I mean, John came from commercial photography background, and he was like, working for American Express and, huge, huge company. So it's like, it's a complete misnomer that someone who's great at art isn't great at business. They really, really can be. Anyway, digress.
Yes.
So then after Muse and Mirror, the next one that I reached out to was, I fingers and lots of pies, lots of conversations kind of going on, but I'll go through them how I see them in the lineup. And the next one is Monica Frias. So Monica, I've actually heard her speak a couple of times. She spoke at Way Up North and I saw her talk there. I've met her through Pick Time, and Monica's a firecracker. She's she is just so much spark to that girl. She is someone, she could be an architect. She could be a fashion designer, an interior designer. She's just creative bones. Okay. And I want to tap into that for Thrive. I feel that she's found her stride. When I first met her, she was moving from, video to photography. And I think that she's really found her stride with photography now. And I love that she made that huge shift in her career. I love her work. She loves London. So that was my inroad with Monica. She was like, I love London. I'd love to go. And she was actually booked a second shoot on the date. So she was like, I'll come and do this instead. So she was already going to be in the UK.
Excellent. And for those of you who listen to the podcast, you'll actually remember that we actually recorded with Monica ages ago. I was just checking. It was episode 74, and we were talking about her filmmaking specifically. And I always remember that kind of, she was talking about her editing cave and her mindset when she almost getting depressed being editing and how she kind of combated that. So it'll be interesting now to see the reasons why she moved from making films to distills and
Well,
hearing what she's been up to, because she is a
got
talent.
Really interesting story around that, and it's a tale of like resilience and focusing on your art and putting things out there in maybe quite restrictive circumstances, because I feel anytime that I've sort of seen criticism of conferences or anything, like I've accidentally read about our conferences that people don't think I can see. One thing is like this is a recurring theme that I've always seen, which is people saying, these people just get up and talk about their journey and their rewards. And it's always the same people. I've heard that said. Yeah. And like, I've always tried to buck against that trend, this is why we do this podcast with you guys, because I want people to arrive already knowing their journey.
Yeah.
So we don't have to spend valuable time. I ask them to make content that is all killer, no filler. Mm-hmm. And I ask to see the presentations ahead of time. And I can be like a little bit like, take that out. That's not relevant,
Mm-hmm.
And because I really want them to give people stuff that's actionable. It's the easiest thing in the world, and I've probably said this on here before, but it's the easiest thing in the world to make people cry when you're at a conference. We deal in emotional things. We deal in emotional parts of people's lives all of the time, and you can put something up and make everybody in the room cry. Well, except me. Everyone cry really easily.
Not even Zoe can make you cry. No. God damn. You're like a brick wall. Where's the emotions?
But it's really, really hard to make people make changes. It's really hard. It's like, and I've learned that through being an educator. It's like that to get them to actually go home and implement the stuff is quite challenging, but I want it to be really actionable and make really big changes. So next speaker on my radar was Kirsty McKenzie. So we always bring up somebody from within our community, somebody that we always ask. We do polls. We ask people who've attended, who would you recommend? Who would you like to see up there speaking? Kirsty's name was put forward multiple times because she's very in the heart of farm. She's, again, someone who's got a lot of resilience. She's not someone you're going to see in a Facebook group whinging about not getting bookings or whinging about it being saturated. Or she's a grafter. And I really admire that in Kirsty. And her work is just fresh. She beats her own drum. It's beautiful. She celebrates color in life and really wonderful, beautiful things. And that's what you see when you look at her work. It's uplifting and elevating. So maybe like the opposite, like Muse and Mirror is dark and moody. Kirsty's light and bright.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
What was her response to being asked? Because obviously last year, Joe Greenfield had a great response to being asked, where she was just like, fuck off.
Yeah. Similar. Not quite as sweary as Joe. But she was like, God, no. She was like, I'd rather just come along and chill and sit in the audience and watch, which is obviously a lovely experience.
It is very nice.
She took a little bit of persuading, but, I'm like, this is what people want. And they want to hear from you, Kirsty. And I think you've got something really valuable to share. And I said, I think I approached her on a Thursday and said, come back to me after the weekend when you've had a chance to sleep on it and think about it and think about what you would have to talk about. And so, she came back and said it's a yes. I think she spoke to Rebecca Carpenter. And I was just really, really glad that she stepped into that role for us, because I think she's just got so much to talk about. And in terms of like, making sure that what you're outputting is aligned with what you want to input, like I said, like none of this, like talking about your client saying, oh, I did this wedding, it was awful. It's like, well, nobody books the jobs in except you.
Yeah.
You're the chief booker. So nobody's fault but you. So just, stuff being really, really aligned with what you want to work on. Cause she's been around 10 years, Kirsty. Like she knows her stuff. So I'm excited to learn from Kirsty. Then that takes us on to Rocio Vega. And I don't know if you've ever spoken to Rocio or you've heard her speak at anything, because
We've recorded her episode already, so
hey,
We have.
excellent.
She is such an interesting wedding photographer to the norm of what I think a lot of people are now. But her skill in Flash, holy shit. Holy shit. I had never thought how detailed you can be with a Flash, or how creative you can be, but just having that conversation with her, just like if you're a photographer and you've never really, like, about Flash, you've maybe used it dancing or whatever, you've tried it, but you're not really sure of the potential that it has. Yeah,
go and speak to her.
Go speak to her.
Yeah.
What a fantastic insight she has into the world of Flash. But
100%. And this is what I heard from her talks, that they're very practical. Like, she goes out into the audience with a flash gun in the talk, is what I've heard. And just that her talks are highly motivational and just really opening up minds as to what can be done with Flash, because they are this little pocket rocket, aren't they, of light, and for photographers, how much light you can generate with them. So her ethos is that any location, any situation, any venue can be made better if you know a bit more about lighting, and you can instantly add to a situation. I love her work. I love, now that I know that she uses Flash for a lot of these photographs I'm looking at, I'm like, wow, this girl's clever. She's got some smarts. However, what her perspective is, and she's bringing it to Thrive, is to really simplify it, to get really effective results, but with very simple techniques. That it's not, sometimes when people teach about Flash and they bring light stands and off-camera Flash and, all these little gizmos, and it's like, it's not like that. Maybe it's Flash for girls. I don't know.
Lisa.
But her style is documentary, but the techniques you can apply across any style.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, definitely. I actually can't wait to hear what people's thoughts are about her talk.
Yay! Oh, I can't wait to listen to that one.
Yeah.
And she was great. And imagine her bringing her along. So imagine they were like, we want to bring a sponsor. We want to bring someone. We want to contribute to the conference. So I was like, okay, talk to me. And the first person they said was Monica Frias. And I was like, already booked her. So that was good. That was like aligned. And then she mentioned Rocio. So I guess they're both Spanish. So, I'm all for girl power. So I was like, yes, this is a bit of me. That is sounding really good, because people want quite practical talks as much as we want the inspiration and everything else. They do love those practical talks as well. So I'm excited for that one. After Rocio, then we've got Tina Vidrine from the Vidrines. So have you spoken to Tina yet?
We have, yep.
I met Tina in London. We were at an event, the Top 50 Wedding Photographers event, and we got on really like a house on fire. She came and joined us for brunch the next day, and she's just really switched on, really interesting person. She's gone through an interesting few shifts in her business and her life. And I just like that she's focused in on the photography, focused on her own path, really pushed through a lot of stuff. And I think there's so much that we can learn from her. Incredible grid, very curated, very beautiful edit. In her pictures and across how she presents her portfolio and her social media. So just gorgeous, really editorial, because, we do love editorial, and more, the kind of fashion elements of wedding photography. So that's going to be interesting to see what she does on the second day. Yeah, especially in the space, because what we're going to do, that big room that we have for the talks, we're going to empty it all out for the second day. So it will be like a great big photography studio, big white empty room, really nice floor. And we've got a smaller space as well, because it's an art hotel. They've got like an art studio, which again, we can just empty out beautiful, gorgeous light. So I can't wait to see what these people do when they get there.
Yeah. And by the way, Tina, best laugh in the industry. Best laugh. Just absolutely adorable.
Yeah.
Check her Google reviews.
Check your Google.
Oh, check her Google reviews. Okay, I shall.
Apparently they all mention her infectious laugh.
Well, at least you still got her Google reviews, eh?
True.
Yes, indeed. Oh God, Lisa, don't.
You getting him on the podcast?
Fucking no.
I was like, they're joking, aren't they? I sent you a DM, then you got attacked.
I'll be completely honest. I wasn't joking. That was actually an idea that I had, because I like watch like crime shows where like you're trying to figure out a profile for this person. So just hearing how people tick is super interesting to me, and I had to figure out. I just had to. It's like a little thing inside my brain. I have to poke and prod at something when it's not right to try and figure out why. And that was my thought for like a tiny little miniature episode. But obviously not the right thing to perhaps suggest.
Well, shall we? Do you want to give the context in case anybody doesn't know what you're referring to?
Oh God. Oh, okay. I said, they've named it Google Gate, right? Which isn't quite right because there already has been a Google Gate, but essentially, there was this individual who was, quote, SEO expert who was teaching people, how to rank higher. And one of those methods were if someone had put their Google business details wrong, you could just hit report and essentially would just delete them from Google if they hadn't done this very one particular thing. And so this, I'm sure everyone knows, caused a bit of an outrage, rightfully so.
Very slimy tactic.
Very slimy.
Yeah.
No one liked it, obviously. And yes, I think some people are still reeling from the experience and being affected by it. So, yeah, terrible, terrible man.
Well, you say no one liked it, but obviously, like, he has a really big Facebook group, this individual, and obviously lots of people did implement the technique because so many photographers up and down the country found themselves suddenly affected. Like, they woke up to have their Google accounts eliminated just got an email saying they were taken down. And so someone who's worked really hard on reviews and worked really hard on building up SEO presence, that really does put your business back. And like you said, people are still trying to get it back. Even if the Google account has come back, the reviews might not have necessarily. But didn't it reveal a really interesting thing in the industry of how many people, when they think they can get away with it, that they would try to get ahead by putting other people down? Yeah. And I was so tempted. I really wanted to put out a message saying that, so Google have looked into this and they're saying that as part of preventing it from happening again, they're going to let everybody know who reported them.
That would be magic, wouldn't it? Yeah. I'd love to know. Yeah. And then we can actually circle out all these individuals.
Like your motto for Thrive, don't be a dick. Like, I don't know if that's an official motto, but
that's fun.
We agree with that. And we've always talked about, the rising tide floats all boats.
Yeah.
Like
community over competition every time.
It's easier to build everyone up and just be better than it is to tear folk down. Like that.
But that's because you're lovely and nearly everybody who comes to Farm is lovely. And Photography Farm and some of these other communities are around. Like, we are community driven and minded. And we do want to support each other. It's why I do a conference. But not everybody is. And it really did reveal how much of the industry isn't like that. And it's easy to go around your own little bubble and forget. And so, things like Thrive, like I want people to not only reset their businesses, but to re-protect them from stuff like this happening again, because you can get so busy shooting and editing that running your business is the thing that suffers and goes by the wayside. Your marketing and running your business. And it leaves you vulnerable. And we're all like just one of these dickheads away from being in a tricky situation. So
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
revealed a lot.
The timing of it as well, like right in the middle of peak wedding season,
Yeah.
couldn't have been any worse.
And right after bloody Sepia Bride as well, which again,
I know.
it's like, created this mass insecurity in the industry. So people are going and shooting and concerned about, am I going to end up being splashed all over bloody TikTok with somebody picking up on something that, it's actually quite a minor issue. And so this week, like every Sunday, I don't know if you guys ever read them, but on Sunday morning, I do my little version of a sermon in our Facebook group and do like something that's a thought of the week. And this week I spoke about, I wonder if we lost the proofing stage with delivering galleries, because we have the facilities to deliver these beautiful galleries now through places like PicTime, and give the client this experience of receiving hundreds and hundreds of images. Even John Dolan delivers 800 pictures, he was saying, in the galleries. But do we not communicate that we're giving them everything so that they can edit out the ones that they themselves personally don't like? That, you might not be able to see. Everyone has things they like and don't like about themselves in photos. And so if you're handing over everything you deem to be a good picture, they can then make their own selection from there. So it's like that used to be the proofing stage. You used to get your proof prints and then make your final selection. And that still happens in commercial photography. You send a fuller gallery than they're expecting to be delivered. And then as the photographer, you fully edit whatever is approved. And yet we're in this situation now where we are fully editing hundreds, sometimes 1,000 pictures, delivering them to the client as if they should all individually be in an album, as if they are all meant to be perfect. And they're not going to be perfect because there's something in your mind that you don't like about yourself in photos. And when you see it in one of these, then you're unhappy. So hers was, the warmth of her skin, or, how her mum's dress looked. That was Sepia Bride. But it's not meant to be perfect in every single picture in the gallery. And we need to get back to communicating that, I think.
Yeah. And that was the crux of the issue, wasn't it? Just communication.
Yeah.
But did you listen to the podcast with the photographer?
No.
That's an interesting other side, because of course every story has two sides, at least. And her side of it was very interesting because it sounds like she actually really did go above and beyond and gave free raws and, went backwards and forwards with her multiple times. So the fact that it was like 6 months later and the amount of attention that it grabbed on TikTok, because of course it's tapping into photographers feeling on certain times insecurity. Bookings are down for a lot of people this year. There's a lot happening. And if you haven't been in the industry for a super long time, then there's a lot of people questioning if this was the right career choice. If you left a full-time job in 2023 to pursue wedding photography full-time and it's not working out how you were expecting, is that personally on you, or is that the state of the industry?
Yeah. In fact, we were, again, going back to the Thrive speakers, we were speaking to Matthew Kay, and it was a very interesting conversation about how, if ever he's been referred, like obviously we know that referral business is very, an incredible way of getting business, but being someone who has a very specific style, if he's gone to a wedding and it's like not his vibe, and he's like, bride of the day, have you checked out my work? And she says, no, it's just been a good referral. My friend used it. He gets very angsty, and I'm like, I can understand why.
Anxious.
Very, very,
And Matt Kay, so he shoots under the woods. He's based in South Africa. He's what I might consider the wild card. I don't know. He's either the wild card or the totty.
You can be both.
You gotta have a lumberjack there.
Yeah. He's like, he calls himself a big beardy bloke in board shorts. He's really blokey, and you maybe don't expect his work to have such a delicate quality to it. When I was aware of his work before, because he won Rising Stars in, I think, 2020. So, someone I've been following, he's on the lane, he's a high profile international level photographer. Really love his wedding work. But when I saw Matt's boudoir work on his portfolio, I was like, now this is crazy interesting because it's so fashiony. It's so editorial. I don't know if you've ever looked at it, but I'm like, there's a picture of a girl bending over and she's got like a parakeet on her ass.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's so not boudoir.
It's edgy as hell. And it's like,
It's good.
whose idea was this photo? Because I love it. And it's like the kind of work you see in like Love magazine or, the sort of stuff that comes out of like East London Shoreditch, it's like, I love it. I really love it. Now, this will make you laugh. So we are at the stage with the Thrive planning where we're booking models, the mood boards are coming together, everyone's working on what their couples are going to be, what they're going to be wearing, everything that day 2 part of it is all coming together. So when I spoke to Matt about getting models for the second day, I said one of our model couples that we have lined up, beautiful 2 girls who are together. One of them is a professional model, the other one is a girlfriend. And I said, how about you use them for your first 2 sessions for the wedding looks and then the model for the boudoir look, which is the last one of the day, is 3:30 slot. And Matt said to me, I'm thinking of asking people who are in the audience on day 1 if one of them would like to model for the boudoir shoot. I was like, Matt, have you met British people? What?
Yeah.
Well, I love that idea, and because we've recorded his episode as well. I just thought, that's. But who's done that? Who's done that before? At Thrive.
I'm not sure who's going to raise their hand though. Like, it's going to be slim pickings, surely. Like, who's going to be confident enough to do it?
I mean, it'd be a great opportunity to see a class without having to pay for it and to experience what it's like to be photographed. So if you were looking at adding boudoir into your repertoire, or you already do, it'd be a good opportunity to see what it feels like for the subject.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to leave it till that late in the day to get models sorted. So I was like, let's rethink that, Matt. But I do know who he has got as a model.
Oh, interesting.
I saw you teasing that on Insta last night.
Oh, did you? Oh, did you? Did I miss it? I must have missed it.
She said something about if you've been to Thrive recently, you might recognise them.
Oh, well, okay. I can maybe guess. Do they know each other?
Maybe, potentially. I'm not going to give you any more.
Okay.
But
I think I know.
We'll let the audience guess in the comments.
Yes, indeed.
But Matt's point was he didn't want to do a pro model. He thinks there's more to teach in doing boudoir with someone who isn't a model. Yeah. And he's so right.
Definitely.
So right.
Yeah.
It's not about the end results. It's about the process. And that's what they're all being chosen for. And I think this bunch in particular, looking at all those additional challenges and looking, the way to raise yourself up out of that as a photographer is to elevate your work. And that's what I really want them to do. So I think that there might be people sitting there thinking, oh, I haven't heard of this person, or I'm not documentary, so I don't want to go do that, or I don't want to shoot like Muse and Mirror do, so I don't want to do that. But there's so much insight to be gained from those day 2 sessions and being in these groups with seeing other photographers operate. Because unless you regularly second shoot for really great photographers, you're not getting that opportunity.
Yeah. So that's us covered the full lineup, isn't it?
That's everyone's. All
amazing.
Damn.
Yeah. And what do you have? You maybe don't have titles for the talks yet, but do you have vague topics that they're going to be touching on?
Yeah, I mean, topics, it's still a wee bit unsettled. So what I don't want to do is say something here and then somebody's listening to it, in September and they're like, hey, what? So, I mean, we're still all talking because I want to make sure that there's variety. People aren't I don't want somebody sitting there thinking, okay, this has already been covered. So I want to make sure that everybody is speaking to their strengths, but also going to give those really actionable takeaways. Like I try and push them to do exercises in the room that keep people engaged and keep them feeling like they're a participant, not just a listener.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very cool. Well, we're very excited. We had a great time. We've had a great time so far. We've only spoken to half of the guests so far. Great conversation, so I can't wait till they're released and you all get to listen to it. However, we do have some disappointing news, Lisa.
What?
A booking came in
You're not coming?
we're not going to be able to make Thrive.
You're not in the
Which I was so disappointed about, because not once have I ever been down to London for a Thrive, and I said to myself, this is going to be the year.
Yeah.
We hadn't had any bookings coming in; it was looking clear, and then suddenly, just recently, Bush one came in. We couldn't say no to. So I'm sorry, everyone. We will not be there. Which
But
is very
still-
disappointing.
Still buy your tickets though.
Still buy your ticket.
Well, I'll just put that great beer back on ice then.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Well, make sure you have some free time for me in March then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
Greg.
Yeah.
Greg was the one who put the booking in the calendar. I had nothing to do with it.
They've not paid the deposit yet. So let's hold out. Let's see. Hopefully they book because I want that money. But
Yeah,
if they
business
don't book,
first, always business first. And good for you that that you're still booking work this year. So
yeah.
I'm happy for you, but sad that you
Yeah.
won't be joining us because we always love having you guys there.
Yeah, it's always
Yeah.
good. And by the way, for anyone out there who's like nervous about their bookings, we're still getting bookings so last minute.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
last minute. It's crazy. Never before in our, is it 14 years now? 14 years have people booked so soon before their wedding.
Not as regular.
No,
Like we've had ones where it's been
Yeah.
like 4 weeks before, but only
Sure.
once a year at most.
Yeah, but not.
But
Yeah, it's just crazy.
here's what I think about that. Is it different, or in the past, were you not able to accommodate those really late minute bookings? Because I feel there's a bit of that going on. Like
Yeah.
you
There's
just
a
wouldn't
bit
have been
of
so conscious of them because you would have just turned them down or referred them to another videographer. So
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
True.
maybe.
But it definitely feels
Mhm.
that way. But
But yeah,
Mm.
we were going to ask about future events, but obviously everything's under wraps about March just now. You
I
gave
know.
some teasers. We know you've said March, so we know it's in March.
we know we know there's
Scotland.
one speaker booked.
So
One, or is there more, Lisa? Is there more? More than one speaker?
potentially, like I said, it's all conversations at the minute
Yeah.
because I've only just confirmed the venue. So we have got dates. I'm happy to share the dates with you if you want an exclusive on those.
Oh yeah,
there
definitely.
we go.
And then I can check the calendar to make sure we're absolutely free. at this
Yes.
point. Yes.
No, because now you've made me nervous that you're going to book another wedding. So it is Tuesday and Wednesday, 4th and 5th of March.
4th and 5th of March. What's the calendar look like, Greg?
Shrove Tuesday.
Yeah, pancakes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, my kids will be so disappointed. Oh well.
Yep.
We're free.
Awesome. There's nothing in just now.
Book it off. Book it off right now. Book it off right now. I'm not missing a Thrive next year. God's sake.
I'll make you pancakes.
Oh, thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, and obviously people keep your eyes peeled for the week after Thrive London when there's those online stuff happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you have been doing. Did we talk about the stuff that you've been doing? Yeah, like you had John Dolan on talking recently. Like, do you have any other little events that people should keep their eye out on?
Yeah, so we will continue those. So John came on for, we call them Barn Live. So they're like a live standalone class, but we feed them all into our membership, The Barn, as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly could just talk to John Dolan the whole day long. So, you've had him on the show.
Yeah.
Such an interesting guy. And I was just trying to think of what's going to help people out of this funk that a lot of us seem to be in at the minute. And his attitude is just so refreshing. And the fact that he, he's been in the industry 30 years. In 30 years, you're going to be through so many ups and downs, global recessions, 9/11, all the things that he's been through and spoke about and had the relevance that they had on his business. So I thought, yeah, because his process is so interesting, the way he delivers pictures, and it's like a slow approach, and he talks about marketing in a way that's like narrow casting instead of broadcasting, and really finding your niche and sticking within it and not seeking outside of that. So interesting. Really, again, just made me rethink a lot of things in my own practice, and really incredible about his approach to shooting. Now, on the day, just to act like a guest, like dress like a guest, drink like a guest.
Yeah, absolutely.
he did the tables with the guests. Like he sees himself as just like this kindly uncle with a Leica mooching around, no big cameras, no, zoom lenses, flash, maybe not flash, but like this sort of blending in approach and really shooting weddings from the inside. And it's like, so many photographers talk about, I'm a fly on the wall, or, it's like, I'm going to capture like everything as you felt it, or really focus on emotions. And it's like, but how do you do that unless you're in this inside role? So that was a really good one. Like that class, I mean, we've got it up still for sale. If people, they can buy these at any time, and you can actually buy, I've included the recording. So I just pictured people like listening to it on the way to a wedding to just change a bit of John's thing is, I don't want to change how you photograph things. I want to change the way you think about photographing them.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Yes.
So we have more of those coming up, but I can't tell you yet. So
Fine.
I remember seeing on his Insta stories at one point talking about like a wedding photographer should never move faster than a guest at a wedding. Yeah. And I screenshotted it to show Simon because I was like, that's like such a good point about blending in. Like if you're rushing around to try and get to the tables and get details before everybody gets in, it's like you'll stand out so much. Like such a small point, but it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And British people are like, they see a camera, they're like deers in headlights. They're like, oh, it's a camera, it's the photographer, it's the official photographer. They think you're someone's mate, and they're just like, oh, it's just a silly photo. It's not, they don't see you as much. But I mean, I understand everyone's different, but I just love the idea of his approach and, just, swanning around Gwyneth Paltrow's wedding like a long lost uncle.
Absolutely. I took some of his advice actually, and I started thinking about my clients and trying to create a bond with them. So the last wedding, for this year, I've started wearing a kilt because a lot of our clients are Americans coming over. They want that Scottish experience. The word Scottish experience has come up a lot in our Q&As. So putting on the kilt because I freaking love a kilt.
And you look good in a kilt, Simon.
Oh, thank you. I do have the legs for it. I do have the legs. My wife says. Nobody else, just my wife says. Just my wife. And I've been trying to just be like talking to every single guest. And even like the night before, like if we can go to a wedding the night before, I'll always try and convince Greg to go, like, because obviously having kids is a little bit harder when you're extending it by a day. So you're going over, you're playing with the guests, like you're no camera, just building that rapport. And then, suddenly at the wedding day, you're like high-fiving people who are also wearing kilts if they've been brave enough, or you're helping people get into them, or all this kind of stuff. And I suddenly noticed that people were very, very receptive to me just being around them, dancing, incorporating me, which from a point of view of the camera is fantastic footage. Just so thanks, John.
This is what I want Thrive to be about. So that 3 months later you'll be at a wedding and you've still got it in your mind, and it's impacting your approach and making your work better, making it a better experience for your clients. It's like an holistic approach. And then you're not the person with the sepia bride, and you're just delivering something, an experience. Like I think the experience is just as important as the actual photo, which is why I really love our Image of the Week series. Like I think it's a really interesting part to what we've done at Photography Farm for such a long time. We just have a picture once a week that gets chosen out of the community. And I write about it. I look at it. I critique the picture. But I get those stories in from the photographers about what happens behind what you see. And this morning, I was writing a couple of them, and that was the point. The key point was that the photographers that have won the Image of the Week have given their clients such a memorable and elevated experience that was better than they might have had with a different photographer. And it's contributed to the greatness of the picture. and their overall experience. Like, there's some just phenomenal people. Like John, it's the golden age is what he says. Golden age in wedding photography. It's so creative, and the same in videography. Just so much beautiful, outstanding work that's being produced, which is wonderful to see and wonderful to celebrate. It's hard. Sometimes people get into their heads and compare themselves to it, but it's like, social media is so great and so bad at the same time. You know, it's like people, there's for everything that you look at and think, oh, I could never do that. That person's so much better than me. There's someone looking at your work thinking the same.
Yeah.
But we don't tend to message each other and say it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, so going back to the image of the day, when you were doing that at Thrive, when you were inviting people up to put in an image, because it was sponsored by PicTime. I loved that. I always love hearing behind the scenes. You know, back in the day when you used to get DVDs, I used to always put on disc 2 first for the extra features. I had to see the behind the scenes. So hearing all those stories, and then when we were creating the podcast, when we got the TV up, the idea of being able to show some images that I wanted to hear the backstory of was amazing.
Yeah.
So even Thrive has sponsored this podcast, in the fact that we do, like, I pick 3, 4, sometimes 5 images, and we do hear the backstory of some of the images. And I think, you know, obviously if you're listening to the podcast, that's one thing, but definitely go on YouTube and have a look at those little sections, because it's much of that kind of behind the scenes, talking about composition, talking about lighting and all those kind of things that make an image. What is a good image? Who knows? It's all that kind of conversation.
Yeah.
And I feed off it. It's what a buzz. What a buzz.
it is, which is why that PicTime storytelling part of Thrive is one of the best bits. And I asked them to bring it to Thrive because I love the fact that it puts the emphasis back onto attendees, that it's not this experience of just coming in, sitting in a chair, having people talk at you. It's so utterly fascinating. And I love the bravery of people that like someone like Kirsty McElroy, I don't know how many years she said she was going to get up and talk about this incredible picture that she had, that, the story needed to be told. And every year she chickened out. She finally did it.
Yeah.
And, I was really proud of herself for doing it. But that actually, I have been lying to you, because I cried twice in the PicTime storytelling this year at Thrive. I cried this year, and I cried at the last one. I cried this year when Rebecca Carpenter showed a photo that I took of her and her husband when they renewed their vows in Las Vegas, and we went out into the desert, and took some photographs. And Rebecca and I weren't like really great friends at that point. And so there was a lot of the backstory for me that had happened before I went and did the work that she didn't know about, and that so seeing it really brought that to me, and that had a huge emotional impact and on her as well, because it's her favorite photo of her and John, and now her and I are great friends, and photography brought us together. And then the other one was from a beautiful girl called Lottie, who's been through my mentoring program. And Lottie was attending Thrive and spoke about this mad, incredible story about how I helped her meet her husband. And she showed the photo of them when they were on top of a mountain. He was proposing to her. And I hit very quickly, the story was that when we were talking about her website, she was saying how much she struggled writing her About Me page. And I said, it's just like writing a dating profile. And she said, oh, don't. She rolled her eyes. She said, I've just come off the apps because I never have any luck with dates, and I'm just giving up. And I was like, it's probably because your profile isn't written very well. And I said, come on, open it up and let's rewrite it now. So we did there and then, and she rejoined, so she signed back up to the app. And a couple of days later, she sent me a message going, Lisa, you're not going to believe this. I have met my future husband.
Yeah, nice.
And I was like, whoa, I do believe you. Well done. And they're getting married. They bought a house together, and she told the story. And of course that got me. So I do cry. It takes a lot.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Oh. Have we ever had that happen with us? No. God, that's so cool.
Oh my God. When we do Thrive in March, you two have to get up at the Pick Time Storytelling and show either a picture or a clip.
Yeah. We did do it a couple of years ago in Glasgow.
What was the image again? Oh yes,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
We showed a picture. I'll talk about the story because I quite like it. We showed a picture of this couple. Just what everyone would probably describe as just your average wedding. It was notoriously though it was held at the Vue. It's kind of like one of these wedding venues. Yeah. You see, everyone has heard the rumors of this wedding machine, and they have two weddings at the same time, and it's really chaotic, and everyone hates shooting there. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, we were like, oh cool. Well, we'll take the booking anyway. We'll see if we can do any creative things with it, and we did. And one of the guests there, who lived in Austin, Texas, saw the film, loved it, and flew us out to the States to shoot their wedding. And it was just not the fact that it took us to the States. I mean, that was cool, but it was just the fact that, you know, you have these preconceived ideas of what kind of wedding venues you want to shoot at.
Yeah.
But you can still create amazing things for people that mean so much for them. And I will never judge a wedding venue now after doing that.
Like,
and,
it's cheesy to say, but it's not about the venue, it's about the people. Like, it's cheesy to say that, but it's true.
I know. Unfortunately, it's mega cheesy.
Yeah.
But yes.
But that is a common thing with the speakers this year, of really trying to make the best of what is available to you, whether that is that you have to go and shoot at your version of the View, and what that feels like. And these are the stepping stones to then getting this other work that is more aligned with you, because that's what you're showing. So, you know, it's not really that big of a stretch that someone saw something that you did there that was really creative. It probably more so resonated with them because they saw what you could do in a space that felt restricted for some reason.
Yeah.
Have you ever shot there again?
We've not actually.
No, we haven't actually. not because we've said no to any, just none have come our way. But
before we go into the socials and wrap up, you mentioned about how John Dolan delivers his photos.
Oh, yes.
And I want to just tell people to keep an eye out, or an ear out, for how Rocio Vega delivers her images, because it's really interesting and cool.
Yes, absolutely.
It's worth listening to.
And definitely listen to the beginning of that podcast where Greg butchers her name.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Your fault though.
I accidentally wrote it with an A at the end. So he's like, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Rocia? Yeah. Sorry, Greg. That was my fault, but it is hilarious nonetheless. There you go. Which it was just even more funny because I brought up her YouTube. I was like, Greg, listen to how she says her name. You got it? Cool. And then he goes and says the wrong one. It's great. Anyway, sorry, Greg.
You've managed to get through this whole podcast without saying shoot sessions.
Yeah.
Well, was it on her? We do have...
On one of them, I intentionally called it your day 2 sessions because I know that's what they're now referred to more so. And he was like, no, say it.
Say it, Greg.
And I messed it up.
Yeah. Shoot sessions.
There you go.
Well done.
You say it, Greg.
Well done.
Shoot sessions.
There you go. Lisa, now you say it.
Shoot sessions.
Okay. I'll let you off for that one. Maybe it was the internet again. Now you, listener, you say it. Oh, no! God damn it! It was bold of me to try a second time. God damn. Anyway, if you're in your car driving to a wedding, you try saying that. You try it. Anyway. Lisa, thank you for joining us again for another episode of the podcast. You are actually now the most recurring podcast guest.
Must be.
So I feel like there should be an award. But there's not, unfortunately. So there you go. Where can people find you if people want to check out your work? Because you're still a wedding photographer.
I am. I'm charging my batteries now because I've got a wedding in London tomorrow. My website is devlinphotos.co.uk and my socials are at Devlin Photos. That's Devlin. Good Irish name. And I mean, I still, I don't know, fit it all in. Like, I still have the love for shooting weddings, and I love that I get to do this, and it re-inspires me. So I'm looking forward to turning up tomorrow looking like a guest, drinking like a guest, feeling like a guest. I might get a t-shirt for that.
And if people were interested in Thrive, what is the website? What's your social handles for that? And talk about tickets.
Yeah, so it's photographyfarm.co.uk and same at Photography Farm. We'd absolutely love to have you. In fact, we'd love to have your readers so much. I'm going to set them up with a code. If they use the code Thrive10, it takes 10% off all tickets, day 1 and day 2, because I just want to get you there and show you how I can re-inspire you and fire you back up for this year. So I'll set that code up for everyone. And
amazing.
Yeah, just do it. You know, Thrive is really flexible. You can just come on the first day and listen to the talks and hang out on the second day. You don't have to go out and shoot. So you can book a shoot like really last minute, if like somebody really blows your mind in the room. It's all like tax deductible. Do it. It's coming like a little business break. And if London's not possible for you because of the dates or the travel, then 4th and 5th of March. I'll be back on the podcast before then to promote that one. But put those in your diary.
Maybe we'll have an award for you at that point in time. Talk to our listeners about how much the tickets are and for day 1, day 2, all that kind of stuff.
So day 1 is $375, which has been since the beginning. We kept the price the same, and $250 for the shoot sessions on day 2. So £250 to go out and create portfolio content and get to see how these photographers operate. And then all that week-long content afterwards is just included. So, talks from Zoe, talks from Sophie, Katie Rogers is going to talk, and all of our sponsors who are all really, you know, these people in the companies that sponsor us, they're all just as passionate about photography as all of us. So I'm like, look, don't just come and talk about your service or your product. Come and talk about business and making these people's businesses better. So they're all working on that at the minute. I'm excited. Canon are coming back. So they've confirmed that they're coming back. Canon have got a fair few new releases this year. So you can expect that, you know, they didn't want to commit to coming until making sure that they could bring those into the room for people to try out.
We've lost her again.
Oh no!
Oh, you're back. This internet, folks. This internet. I'm so sorry.
Well, that's our sign to quit. But I was just saying, Canon's going to be bringing everything for people to try out. So if you want to try a new camera, you want to try out a lens, you're thinking of swapping systems. And the other thing is that Canon have given everyone, everyone who came to Thrive last time, they've just sent them out 10% off. That they can go to any retailer with. So, you know, that makes a difference if you're buying a fair amount of kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Come to Thrive and save money.
And it's, you know, those sessions on day 2 are amazing. But even if you don't have the money to splash out on these sessions, you know, that free content is incredible. I mean, even just Zoe alone, just for the coaching, you know, if you can wrangle your way to the front of the group and have your little crying session, you'll realize how traumatized you have been your whole life. Thanks, Dad. Anyway, Jesus Christ. Anyway, people can find us at Perspective by Cinemate. Thank you, Lisa, for trusting us with your speakers and coming on yourself for the 4th time, I believe, now. It's amazing that you still want to come on. And you can, our website is perspectivebycinemate.com, our Instagram at perspectivebycinemate. Definitely, you know, if you have any questions, fire them over. We've always got our typey fingers on the board, whatever that means. And I have to ask you, listener, are you ready for London Thrive? Because you have to get ready for the 2-day all-star wedding photography workshop held at the UK's first art hotel nestled in the north of London. on the 8th and 9th of October. I'm very disappointed I won't be there. However, have a blast. If you have enjoyed this conversation, you can hit subscribe on our YouTube at Perspective by Cinemate, or wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. You can say hello and listen to us as your little ear biscuits for the day. We hope to see you in the next episode. However,
In the meantime,
enjoy your Thrive.
Thank you.